Welcome back to the Pod of Greed.
Welcome back indeed, folks, to the one and the only card game podcast on the internet.
Better yet, the only podcast on the internet.
Yeah, glad you aren't watching anything else because we've got a lot to fill you in on today because we just got back from a really big event, the Bandai Card Games Fest.
In Orlando, Florida.
Yeah, really exciting. I actually have a lot I wanted to share with the pod. I couldn't wait. I also was happy to be recognized by so many people.
Yeah, it was almost like everybody there was a Yu-Gi-Oh player.
Yeah.
At a Bandai event.
We'll get into that. But first of all, thumbs up on the video. And, of course, one's in chat.
One's up, Premier Gang. Rise
if you are
up.
watching live. I have to apologize to the pod because I have not made it to the last couple of premieres. I have not been in the chat. And normally I try to be in the chat and like talk to people. So hopefully this time I will be up and available and able to chat with the crew in the schoolyard.
As you confuse the people who still think the premieres are actual live streams.
Yeah, they're not live streams. They are like treated like that. And so I try to be there. And sometimes I'll be there and I'll be like talking. And then people are like, how are you like saying this while you're chatting on the video? And I'm just like,
can you see my hands right now?
Yeah. I'm actually like secretly like just typing like off screen. And yeah, okay. So before we get into all that, though, I do have another review for us.
Oh, here it comes. Paul's got to sing.
Yeah, just real quick. It's not a song, actually.
Oh.
This person just said, amazing. This is from Eastman721. I love this pod. There's nothing better. This is the only Yu-Gi-Oh pod you need. Oh, they know the score. All right. Also, what are the best ways to learn combos for my deck? I play Bestial Centurion. Honestly, you type it in on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, YouTube and Time to Lab. And you can't use like big content creator videos. You have to find those smaller combo tutorial videos from like Wygo Pro and stuff.
The best combo videos for YouTube are the smaller creators.
Oh yeah,
because they're way more into it. Like if you find like a big creator, like no offense, to
people like
these,
us,
like to like bigger creators who are like, oh, here's this cool Bestial Centurion profile. But like they'll just give you the profile and maybe show you one combo. But like I promise you, there's some channel that like they don't get that many views, maybe they don't have that many subscribers. It's not a mark against their quality or their commitment, but they will give you the like most in-depth little like just like here's everything you can do in every situation.
They're gonna feed you like 7 different hands and like all the routes to play around different hand traps.
Did you see there was a video actually last week? There was like this branded tutorial that was going viral and it was like a 2-hour long like branded I saw like
I didn't see
this picture was going around. It was I don't know.
It's a 2-hour long in-depth
branded
fest
of just like modern branded combos. It was only uploaded like a week ago.
Wow. I mean that's the type of video you want to watch to get good with your deck. Cuz crazy people
like people who are really obsessive
on YouTube.
Like and it's good to be a little obsessive about these things. Like I've always said that you're not really going to be great at Yu-Gi-Oh if you're not like a little you
got to be a little thrown off to be a good Yu-Gi-Oh player. And then to be a winner, you got to be a lot thrown off.
Yeah. So thank you for the review. We always appreciate those. If you are listening on any given podcast platform, a positive review.
Also, next time, we need a poem for Paul to recite.
Yeah, a song for Alec or a poem for me.
No songs for Alec.
So, before we talk about the Bandai Card Games Fest, I was gonna say we can maybe go over some of the Yu-Gi-Oh news, but then I realized like there's not actually been all that much.
There've been leaks. I know you guys have already seen the leaks, and we don't talk about those. We don't do that here.
So I do want to say actually,
here he comes with the leak.
Well, no, it's not that. Oh. It's just that there have been reveals. There's Alliance Insight stuff, but I guess like it's funny. Officially speaking, these are leaks for us in the TCG. Mm-hmm. But isn't it crazy that in the OCG, like they just get told like what's in their pack, like just throughout the weeks. Like it's kind of cool, you know what I mean?
So now this is it's a bit of a tangent, but bear with me. So the Digimon card game, they're unifying their Western releases with the Japanese releases, so that we'll get Japanese. Japan and the US will get cards at the same time now. My favorite experience with this whole thing has been the BT20 reveals for the Digimon card game. We are getting them at the same time as they're getting them in Japan. So every time a new card comes out, you see the Japanese version of it and the English version. And the most amazing part about it is we get those cards next month.
Yeah, and I think that's something that like Yu-Gi-Oh needs to probably adopt. Like, because more and more card games are doing it. Like, we'll probably get into this more when we talk about the Bandai Card Games Fest. But like, it just on this pod, like we kind of have this joke like, oh, you know, we're not talking about these leaks from this next set. But like in Japan, those aren't even considered leaks.
Yeah,
they're just like what they get, and then like we kind of just get them too. And then it's weird because like Konami. So like this past week, like Konami's been doing Supreme Darkness like content creator reveals, and this is nothing against the content creators revealing this stuff. This is more on
They're
Konami.
actually
I
good
think.
People.
Yeah, it's just that like okay. All we're really getting out of those content creator reveals at this point is maybe getting the rarities of the cards confirmed for our TCG version of the set. But like the evil heroes and like the Tinyi stuff and all that, like those have already been like long since known. And so it kind of creates this like awkward, like you can't really get that excited about things that you kind of already seen. And like if you're in the Yu-Gi-Oh community, you know like these cards were revealed like 2 months ago.
Now,
so
for some people like me, you know, I don't deal too much in the future of Yu-Gi-Oh. The content creator reveals are nice for me because it gets to remind me of all the things I've forgotten.
Yeah, that's what they're good for. I was going to say.
The problem is a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players are really dialed in. They've been practicing with their Yu-Gi-Oh, with these newer Yu-Gi-Oh cards on sites that shall not be mentioned for months now, and so for them this is truly old news. So they can't get hyped for the content creator reveals. They don't watch the videos, and all they do is listen for what the rarities will be because you know they're going to order their case and they need to know what they're likely to pull.
Yeah. By the way, when he says sites that shall not be revealed, he's just talking about EDO Pro. I just don't want anybody like I legitimately don't want anybody to think that because there are people that I've met that like I honestly think like. Yeah, like you guys are like sponsored by Konami, and I'm just like, no, we're not. Like, cause like people think, cause you know, like there are like content creators who like you know they're not allowed to talk about like EDO.
That's true. They literally cannot say
because like if you're with Konami, like you can't do that. It's like I don't care. Like I mean, it's EDO Pro. That's what it's called. Download it, play Yu-Gi-Oh, do what you want.
But what if we were sponsored by Konami?
Yeah. So
we would not be able to have this podcast.
This podcast probably wouldn't exist. They'd be like, y'all talk way too much shit about us. Shut this shit down. No, so I always found that to be like, it's just weird. Like we're getting Supreme Darkness influencer reveals the same week that like Alliance Insight cards are just getting revealed. Like it's something
this
about it's
weird kind of whiplash effect because you know you have the things that you already knew about. It's like, oh, this is kind of nice, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, this new archetype.
Yeah,
what?
like Regenesis was like the one that was shown this week. And
we don't talk about those.
It's kind of like I don't know. I just kind of wish Konami could just make it all the same across the board, so we wouldn't have
100%
do the dance.
The feeling of looking at Digimon cards for the first time ever, and knowing that I'm going to be able to pull them within 30 days from now, feels so fucking good. I don't know why Konami has deprived us of that very same feeling.
Yeah, I think they need to get them. I know it's like it ended up being like a rant because we're not even like really talking about the news.
We barely got started.
I don't know, just like make it all the same. Because like we're this Gundam card game's coming out and they're like, yeah, it's just releasing like same day and date in like 3 different territories, like Chinese, English, Japanese. So I don't know.
And especially since like, you know, these card games, everyone wants to say like, you know, Yu-Gi-Oh's getting beat out by these other card games. Well, you know what would really help Konami? If you unified the product release schedule, I feel like Yu-Gi-Oh would take off.
So other than that, there hasn't actually been like a whole bunch of news. Like the Mulch Army cards are coming to Master Duel like today.
Oh, okay. So Master Duel is going to become unplayable.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. There is one cute thing I wanted to show though.
What?
They released, this is an OCG product, a finger mascot at the Kaiba Corp store.
Oh, so, it's a little guy.
Yeah, it's what I guess is like
it's a little
blue eyes kind of white dragon, and like you put
it
on your finger, and it's like a finger mascot.
I forget where I think they usually use them for like, at least I've seen them for like Duel Links maintenance posts and stuff. Mm-hmm. I have no idea where they came from. But it's just kind of one of those like Yu-Gi-Oh mascot-y things that
we need more of here in the West, really. Yeah, it reminds me. It looks a lot like the slippers, which I meant to order some like the red eyes, blue eyes slippers. Do you remember that? I always thought that was really cool.
Did you see the Karibo ones?
I've seen like the backpacks. Do they do slippers for that too?
I saw Karibo slippers, and I just assumed that like you'd already seen them, and I didn't save it, and I feel bad now.
Well, I'll probably see it soon enough then. But yeah, so surprisingly, not a load of Yu-Gi-Oh! But that's a good opportunity then to talk about our own experiences this weekend.
In Orlando, Florida.
Yeah, so here, you can take the stage. Give us the setup for this. What's going on?
I took the stage there, and I'll take the stage here? Okay.
Yeah.
So we were invited by Bandai to do their card game fest. Why? Because of their new card game, the Gundam trading card game, which, as you already know, we went to Houston to do the launch event for. So this was kind of like the second part to that situation. Mm-hmm. We'd never been to a Bandai card game fest. All we really had to go on was, it's kind of like their Nats, right? This is their national tournament. We've been to many Yu-Gi-Oh! Nats, so we figured we knew what we were walking into.
And it had that vibe.
And then it had a lot more. Yeah.
So it was me and Alex and Chris. It was the four of us that were there. I was mostly just there for camera stuff, and those are three to play.
Paul
like
and plenty of other card games.
Bandai games. But we were there primarily, like you said, for Gundam. But like all the games are featured there.
Yeah, I mean there was One Piece, Dragon Ball, Battle Spirits, Union Arena.
Right.
There's a game I'm forgetting and I can't think of it right now. But all of the Bandai games were there.
Yeah, Digimon. Did you say that?
Wow, I didn't say Digimon.
Yeah.
The one I play.
Yeah, but all the Bandai games are there. These are players who had to like qualify for this main tournament through like I guess their equivalent of whatever regionals are.
But there was surprisingly more to it than just the national tournaments that you needed invites for.
That was the cool part.
When you first walked in, you got a goodie bag. And it had like a Digimon manga in it and some promo cards and and then of course marketing materials.
Because as it happened, what this really was like a toy and hobby expo. Like that's actually part of the little title. Yep. So in addition to the tournament, they were also just had like these installations for different like anime that Bandai has the license to, and obviously there's like the Gundam base. You've probably seen that from many conventions. That was there.
It's like you walk in and you're greeted by a Gundam statue, and you look to the left and you see these giant like Digimon cards, and there's an Omnimon there, and you look to the right and you see these giant One Piece manga panels on the other side.
Yeah, it was a real celebration of
Everything
the same properties
Bandai
that are
owns
in those card games, which I thought was really cool because, like sometimes I've said that like Yu-Gi-Oh! Like YCS events maybe should lean in more somewhat to like the anime side of things and kind of
just use the anime to make the room more lively,
Yeah, it very much felt like I was at like Bandai Card Games Fest. You know what I mean? Like it's a Bandai event. They had a premium Bandai booth there. They had like a place to like just learn how to build a Gunpla model. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you could learn to build a Gunpla model, and then you could go buy some Gunpla models.
Yeah,
it was all in the same building.
Yeah, so I thought it was all in all a very cool thing.
They had a nice a stage where they broadcasted the feature matches,
and they also even played the Digimon movie.
Yeah, but not our Digimon movie. They played like the original Our War Game movie in Japanese, which I thought was a weird choice because we're in the States. This is a Nats.
I think the reason why is just because that's the one that's releasing on like Blu-ray right now.
Maybe, but I wanted the soundtrack.
Yeah.
And that would have been hype. I would have lost it.
Well, what's kind of cool about our particular role in this event, because up to now we've just given this overview of it, but we were there for like helping to kind of launch the Gundam card game, and it was cool because I got to like be on the main stage and interview the game's producer. And then you can tell them about like.
And then Alex and I, we teamed up for a Gundam card game exhibition match. It was a 2-on-2 tag game because the Gundam card game is releasing with a 1v1 game mode, a 2v2 game mode, and a battle royale game mode. So we were showing off the tag mode against ProZD. I'm not 100% sure how you say his handle, but we played a tag game that, and I want to say no one had ever really seen it before. And it was actually a lot of fun because we're up on stage. There's lights everywhere. There was commentary. Were you weren't there? Were you still up there for commentary, or did you already step down?
I wasn't. Yeah, I didn't do commentary. I'd already stepped down.
Oh, I mean, you could have hyped us up more.
Yeah, well, I was taking pictures.
Which we do appreciate.
Yeah, that was fun.
But we're up there and we're playing this game that no one has really played before. And we were using cards that we really hadn't seen before. You know, we had our little beta kit, so we'd seen some of them. But these were like pre-constructed decks, full rubs of all the relevant cards. This was as close to optimal Gundam as you're going to get in January 2025. And we're doing it in front of this live audience. So a little nerve-wracking, but I like to think we did a good job.
Yeah, I think you guys did a great job. If you guys want to watch that whole thing, by the way, like it is part of the day one stream VOD. It starts at about like 7.5 hours into the thing.
In fact, I think Alex clipped it. I wonder if I can like share the link.
Yeah, I'll link to it as well, just if people want to see. Because I thought it was really fun. Like it felt kind of special compared to a Yu-Gi-Oh event because they gave us we had, the next day we had like an autograph session. Yeah. And it was my first time having an autograph session at like one of these card game events. And so I really felt like we were just kind of being treated like special guests, and that felt nice.
You say that. I feel like every event we go to is an autograph session.
Well, right, but this is the first time that like the organizers were
they gave you a
giving
table
us like here's a table and a designated time.
Yeah.
Which it was a bit of a mix really, because like we did have an autograph session and we're sitting around this table for about an hour. But also we were just walking around the venue the whole time, and like people just recognized us and like said hi, and
it was strange. It felt like everybody recognized us.
Yeah, and I mean I think that big part of the reason for that is because so many of the people who play these Bandai games have come from Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, they've either had some experience with it, or maybe they kind of currently play or whatever. Maybe they got run away from Yu-Gi-Oh! Because that's a story you hear a lot.
It's like, I swear, we must have talked to over 100 different people, and not a single one of them said, "Oh, I've never played Yu-Gi-Oh!" They'd all played Yu-Gi-Oh! It felt like this Bandai Card Game Fest was just the next step for a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh! Players.
Yeah, I think there's a whole conversation actually to be had about what I kind of wanted to talk about. This is like what this event did well, and maybe what like could have been improved. But like, what could YCS events learn from an event like this? Because just to start, I did really like that there was more to do for a spectator here compared to what you might get at a YCS event or like at a Yu-Gi-Oh! Nationals. Like,
that's true.
Comparatively, Yu-Gi-Oh! Nationals do have some interesting attractions. They usually have the giant speed duel, like the giant card thing where like you play with these oversized speed duel cards in a mat. That's really fun. People like that. There are the token booths where you get your token made. So that's something that like there was not an equivalent to that here. And
they do have some vendors.
And there's vendors. And then there's also like the voice actor duels, which those are usually a really big draw. So like that stuff that Yu-Gi-Oh! Events do that these Bandai events weren't doing. On the other hand, though, I think that what this event did well was having these exhibits that you might find at like a more traditional convention.
Giant pieces of one-piece art. Photo cutout installations where you can just kind of have a photo shoot for all your favorite card games.
Yeah, there were a lot of figures and stuff that you could buy.
They had merch.
Yep.
I mean, it was all like official like Bandai merch. They had like a premium Bandai booth that you had to sign up for time slots to get into. But they also had another merch spot where you could buy like figures.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of neat. So it's like both events could kind of learn from each other. Like I saw that they had like a prize wall, although I didn't get a great look at exactly what the prizes were. Like I know there were some promos. There
were these like, I saw a lot of these sheets that had different promos for each of the card games in them. I'm assuming that was fairly exclusive, like that was actually valuable to players. I did not I didn't have time to really try and get anything off that wall. So
yeah, like I don't want to make any
into
judgment calls because I do feel like from what I've seen, Yu-Gi-Oh does a better job maybe with like the side event pricing. Like, it seems like people get really into those.
That's
uncut
like the thing
sheets
that Yu-Gi-Oh events are known for, right? Uncut sheets of starlights,
giant cards. I've always said more card games need to like take advantage of giant cards as a prize because it's a really cool like keepsake, I think, for people. I'd say the event felt a lot more laid back. Like at Konami events, I know that like filming's not allowed outside of like designated locations. Like you have to go to like the little content creator kind of corner if you want to do interviews with players or deck profiles. Whereas here, like people were just walking around with like, I got this little DJI Osmo Pocket 3 for Christmas. And I was like, I'm going to just take it to this event for like a test drive. And it was fun. I was just walking around, just recording things. And like, I know, like, I guess technically I had like sort of a special permission because I was invited, but then I realized like a bunch of people just had cameras and
I think the main difference is
phones and stuff.
This event was very firmly divided. The space was firmly divided. There was the kind of for fun spectator side of the event, and then the competitive side was kind of tucked away into a corner.
Yeah, a little bit. That was kind of odd. Like I like that they had sort of almost like a wall dividing the two, like the gameplay and like tournament areas versus like the convention side of it. But maybe if you're a player, you might prefer that. I don't have a.
I think the players would like the privacy, but it felt like it was way too small of a space.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what games that even was. I think it was like 2 games that are happening over there, and then some other stuff was at another spot. But either way, that was a little strange. I'm trying to think, is there anything else like major? I mean, we met a few other content creators, like I said, like ProsD. iShowSpeed was there. That was a really cool. Did not expect to see him.
It's like I expected to see a lot of like Bandai creators. Was not expecting one of the largest streamers in the world.
Yeah, it was neat. He has like a whole like little entourage. They follow him around whenever he's walking through the event.
And when he was there, you would just hear people whispering his name. Oh, Speed's here. I heard Speed's here. Speed's over there. Oh.
Yeah, they made him a custom One Piece card where he's like Luffy, basically.
Or at least they made art. I don't know if they made a physical card.
Yeah, they said the card's going to be like a promo later on.
Oh, okay.
But
and they turned him into Luffy.
But still, yeah, I mean, you know, we got to meet like him, ProsD, just a lot of creators that I hadn't really been exposed to because like for the most part, I'm only like exposed to Yu-Gi tubers. So getting to see like just people who are like doing other like Bandai stuff, kind of cool. Anything that were major stuff?
I don't know. I mean, it was a fun event. I think one of the reasons it might have felt more laid back is because we did not have a dog in that fight.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you don't play any Bandai card games, and I'm not good enough at Digimon to compete at Nats. So we could just chill while we're there. There was no expectation of being more than what we are. I feel like at Yu-Gi-Oh events, there is this expectation that we are supposed to be competing. We're supposed to be really, really good at this game. And we're also supposed to just be we're supposed to be like Team APS Paul for the entire time you're at this event. I have to be Team APS Alec this entire time we're at this event because we're in the Yu-Gi-Oh place. We have to be our best Yu-Gi tuber selves.
Yeah, it felt a little bit more laid back, I think, in that way. Something that was interesting, it was also like, you know, we met a lot of people. Shout outs to the people who were talking about how, like, you know, they listen to the pod and stuff. Like, I heard a lot of people be like, yeah, like, this is part of my, like,
pod listeners there.
You know, like my commute, my workout, whatever. And also, the common story that we oftentimes hear at events like this and a lot of conventions, and it's sort of what informs some of my, like, more abstract ideas about Yu-Gi-Oh! And like just the Yu-Gi-Oh! Player experience and like where it's headed for people and stuff is many people here were saying how like, you know, I don't play Yu-Gi-Oh! Anymore, but I still love watching you guys or still love listening to your podcast, which I always, you know, I appreciate that. It really means a lot, but it does oftentimes like kind of tell you like maybe Yu-Gi-Oh! It's like Yu-Gi-Oh! Is the grandfather of a lot of these card games. Like a lot of people, you kind of go, yeah, you got to go through Yu-Gi-Oh! For better or for worse before you tend to find yourself in these other card games. You either got burned out of modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Like the price or the ban list or the just power spikes or the complexity or whatever it is, like maybe ran you away at some point, and you ended up playing Digimon or One Piece or something instead. Not saying that's a good or a bad thing to do. I'm not making a judgment call on the decision to do that, but just pointing it out.
I just think Yu-Gi-Oh created the love of card games for
a lot of people.
Most people, I'd say.
Yeah.
And I know these different IPs, they'll pull people who never played a card game before. But I think for the vast majority of Bandai card game players, their love for card gaming started with Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Was kind of that game before it became whatever it is today, which is quite polarizing. I understand if you quit the game, but I also understand if you still play the game, because it's not like it's a bad game. It's just a very different game.
Yeah, I think that, and I've had this conversation. We've had it off camera plenty. I've had it with other people.
We've had it on camera.
Yeah, it's just this stratification that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is kind of currently experiencing, and I'd love to hear people's input on this in the chat. I think currently Yu-Gi-Oh! Is experiencing this weird, like, late-stage growing pain where the people who enjoy modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Really love it. They've been here the whole time. They love the complexity. They love the high-octane gameplay. They're locked in. They're going to more YCSs than ever. They're like,
they're popping their Adderalls.
They're finding more, like combos and making more videos than ever. But consequently, it feels sort of like, then there's another crowd that like is just diving into Goat and Edison. And it's kind of become like, it's almost a different Yu-Gi-Oh! Entirely. Like I'm turned off from this modern thing. I'm just going to play my Goat, I'm going to play my Edison. I want to just draft and cube with old cards forever. Not saying that's bad. I'm just like pointing out that that's what it is.
Different way to enjoy the game.
So what you end up with though is there's like this side, which is whatever you want to call it, the modern enthusiast, the Goat, more Edison enthusiast. Then there's the middle ground. And I think that the middle ground,
poor middle people,
that's kind of what I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Is losing to these Bandai games, is the people in the middle.
The middle class?
The middle class. We're losing the middle class. Getting political pretty early this episode. No, but like I think we are losing kind of that middle of the road Yu-Gi-Oh! Player who they're kind of like semi-competitive, right? Like they play at locals, or they did play at locals. They've been to a few regionals. They've liked decks and kind of tried to keep up, but like they just maybe found themselves priced out, like, or just ban listed out, we'll say, or
they can't hang.
Power Cup in some way they can't hang, and it's not necessarily like you could say it's their fault, like get good, or you could say it's Konami's fault, like they've burned this player to the ground, the nubs. But either way, those tend to be the players that I noticed are most often transitioning to One Piece and Digimon and like Union Arena and stuff, is because they just feel like Yu-Gi-Oh! Kind of didn't do right by them in some way. And I'm imagining Konami's aware of this problem to some degree. Like, I don't know, are they trying, like, what are they? I think the biggest task right now for Konami is, okay, how do you reclaim that player, or at least stop the bleeding of,
right?
Because I think that we are bleeding players to these other games. And like, I know it's not like a competition or whatever, but if you're Konami, you must be aware of this.
So I'm about to go on a bit of a stretch here. You might call this a reach.
Okay.
I think the appeal of Bandai card games for Yu-Gi-Oh! Players who are in that middle class is these Bandai card games feel like they're more rewarding for the older school Yu-Gi-Oh! Skill set you've developed than what modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Is. Like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is still the same game, and there are skills in Yu-Gi-Oh! That you can take from, locals all the way to the world final. But there's also a lot of new skills that you need to have in Yu-Gi-Oh! That just weren't really a thing when a lot of us were first learning the game. But I do think for these Bandai TCGs, a lot of those core Yu-Gi-Oh! Skills that you picked up playing in 2008, even in 2013 and 15 and so on, they translate better for those games because I would say those games are more mid-rangey. They're more resource intensive. And anybody who's played Yu-Gi-Oh! For some years, that was the name of the game. It was all about depleting your opponent's resources while keeping your own. And as long as you understood that, you had an edge over these One Piece players who never played a TCG before, And you were like, and so you're like, oh, this is easy. This is easy clap, easy money, easy tops.
Yeah.
You went to Digimon, like these guys don't know how to really play cards. I'll go win this too. And and not every Yu-Gi-Oh player goes into other card games and wins. I'm just saying that we already have trading card game skill sets. And right now, those skills, they transfer over really well for Bandai. And it's a little iffy when it comes to like current modern day Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, I think...
And that was a reach, guys. Do not kill me in the comments. Yeah, I know it was a reach.
I get what you're saying. Like, it's something that, like, every card gamer is different. People are looking for different things from these games. And obviously, like, it's all kind of a fluid... It's changing. But I do think that for Yu-Gi-Oh, just something that I've noticed very frequently is that, like, I go to these conventions and people are like, yeah, I don't play Yu-Gi-Oh anymore. Like, I kind of like, watching your guys' theme duels or your retro rivals or that sort of thing, but I don't really play the game because of the ban list or whatever. And I think Konami's got to find something to retain those people or, like, win them back. And I don't know what that something is.
They should just take one of our series and turn that into a format.
Yeah. Like, I've always said, like, you got to kind of maybe they... Like, two common things that I've heard is, like, okay, make a GOAT or Edison product. And I've got a hot take on that, which is that I think that'd be a not great idea.
I think it would be very hard to do.
I don't even think it would be difficult so much as I think that it would be... So, let me backtrack this a little bit. There are people who really want Master Duel to add, like, an Edison or a GOAT format mode. They've kind of done it in, like, dual trials, but some people want, like, just a mode where you can queue into Edison or GOAT.
Right.
But there's an obvious reason why they probably will never do that. Once you get your GOAT cards, you'll never pull for anything else because you've got your static locked format, and there would never be another reason to get, like, okay, I've got my copies of Breaker, I've got my Scapegoats, I've got my Chaos Emperors. Like, there's never going to be new cards. And so it just operates opposite the business model. And I think sort of similarly, if you were to release like an Edison or a GOAT product, I'm not saying it's like an outright bad idea, but I think that for Konami, well, you only really need to buy it like once or twice and then never again, like quite literally never. And then it's also kind of this, they'd be admitting, okay, guys, like we were wrong. This is just the superior way to play this game. Like that might be kind of what the messaging.
That's what it'll be necessarily. I think if it were a Master Duel, it will be like saying we value that. It'll be like saying we value the time that you guys are willing to put into this game by playing this alternative game mode. Yeah, they're not making 1,000,001 purchases, but they're still giving you playtime. They're still like running up the numbers on Steam for you or whatever console you play on.
Yeah, I just mean like that they want you to like spend.
And if spending is the all end all, then of course, like it feels like we'll never get what Yu-Gi-Oh needs in Master Duel if the only goal is to get people to buy gems.
Here's the thing, and that's why I'm like, I think people are gonna hear this and think like, oh, so Paul's just saying a GOAT product is bad. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that like from Konami's perspective, there'd just be no reason to do it.
I feel like they need to change their goals because a GOAT product in Master Duel would scratch an itch for a lot of people.
Well, actually, it wouldn't even be a product. It would just be a mode.
I mean, yeah,
because you can really get the cards.
I meant a mode.
Yeah, and to be clear, like Master Duel having a GOAT mode, the reason they don't do that is there's that reason. But I think like the physical GOAT product would be maybe even from Konami's perspective like worse because it's like, I mean, you really that is them saying, okay, this old school bygone Yu-Gi-Oh age is just how you should play the game because like there is less. I think fewer and fewer people these days are enthralled with the modern new cards. Like you get some buzz whenever there's like hero stuff. Like, okay, you know, the evil heroes, a lot of people kind of like that. But like for instance, I overheard somebody at this event this weekend who was saying like, yeah, I love Yu-Gi-Oh! Like but my favorite deck was Six Samurai and like now they don't make any more of those. And it's kind of funny because Rage of the Abyss actually had a bunch of new Six Samurai cards and Supreme Darkness has a couple more actually.
I actually didn't know it had more.
And a lot of people wouldn't know because like it's that effect I was talking about earlier where so many of these sets have kind of just gotten distilled down into like what is the best archetypes, what are the good staples. Like Rage of the Abyss for most people is, Molcharmi Fualos, Dominus Impulse, and like, maybe grabbing that one Fiendsmith Lacrima.
But I put that on Konami. Konami's not actually marketing archetypes.
No, I'm not saying it's a player's fault or any. Like I'm not pointing blame. I'm just like pointing out that this is the phenomenon that is happening, and I do think that Konami's got to do something to change it. I just don't know exactly what that something is.
I think it's to market. Konami loves not marketing this game, at least not to the extent I think a card game should be marketed. But
if we're
going to print these retro archetype upgrades of cards, then the people who are interested in those archetypes need to know about it. How is someone supposed to know there's 6 Sams in this set? Who's going to tell them?
I think a lot of it's going to have to come down to they've got to reach out of the bubble a little bit. And that's hard because I've seen, like, you can tell they're kind of trying to. Like, you look at the Shadow Duelist stuff, you look at, the NFL players thing, like, they are trying to. I think they're still getting their footing with what the best way of doing that is. Because, like, I don't think the Shadow Duelist thing, like, really worked out all that well. Like, people didn't really seem to get into it. But, like, I do not want to just seem like I'm sitting here on my armchair being like, yeah, if Konami would just market, like, I know they have a marketing team. I know they have a marketing budget, and I know they're aware of this. So I don't want to just say, like, they're doing nothing, and if I was in charge, I would do the perfect job of it. I don't want to imply that, but you're right. Like, they have to do something that they're not currently doing. Whatever that something is.
I mean, there's a lot of obvious things that I feel like are being ignored because they might be too difficult or they can't get the approvals to do it. I mean, why don't they find out what Moist Critical's favorite old archetype is and just make new support for it and then like send it to him
early too?
Yeah,
and, like, have him talk about it. Yeah, that's the thing is, like, I mean, I think that now that I've seen, like, it seems like Bandai is kind of really embracing iShow Speed. You might have seen, like, he got the rights to stream One Piece on a stream now. And so, maybe, like, Yu-Gi-Oh's got to do a little bit more of that. Like, get Charlie on, like, something big, on some project. Have him be, the Shadow Duelist. And change that whole Shadow Duelist structure. Like, instead of it being, like, guess this person, just say, Charlie's going to be streaming on this thing, like, this day. Like, I don't know.
Get people excited about Yu-Gi-Oh again. And I know, the way that Konami typically tries to get people excited about Yu-Gi-Oh is by making newer, more powerful archetypes. And that excites the core Yu-Gi-Oh crowd. But that doesn't really do anything for people who have left Yu-Gi-Oh behind, or at least who think they've left Yu-Gi-Oh behind.
I think a lot of it also comes down to, I didn't mean for this to turn into like such a nasty. I know, like, some people want this out of the pod. Some people are like, you guys are just bitching. But I'm just gonna say my thoughts here. Like, I mean, I think that's where kind of the low power format thing comes from too, because something that I find that players kind of get demoralized by, and it's not even necessarily be totally valid that they feel this way, but like it is their feeling, is okay. Maybe they did release 6 Samurai cards in Rise of the Abyss or Rage of the Abyss.
Yep. But
why should I bother? Because they'll never beat Fiendsmith and Malice and like Ryziel anyway. And and if they can't compete, then like what's the point? And so that's kind of where that low power format comes in, because I think that a low power format, kind of a heart of the underdog or whatever, bridges the gap between like people are still playing with new cards. That's the key. Is Konami needs people to be getting excited about and playing with new cards that are releasing now. They do not actually want you to really like only play Edison cards or only play Goat. They want you to be excited about these new 6 Sam cards. But the thing is, those cards need a place where they can feel like they are like on the proper power curve, not just kind of like, oh, it's hopeless, I'll just lose to Malice anyway.
And I know we've reiterated this topic over and over again, but I feel like and I don't know where you draw the line specifically, but if we could just shave off the top like 25% of Yu-Gi-Oh, and I mean in power, I feel like that would change and it's only for this format. You can still play your cracked, crazy Fiendsmith pile deck, in proper tournaments. But I think in this format, if you could just shave off the top 25% of the power level in Yu-Gi-Oh, all of a sudden, a lot of decks become decent. There's still going to be a meta, and you might still lose, but I feel like you won't lose as bad.
Yeah, I mean, and it's kind of one of those things where because that doesn't exist, and because people get excited about an archetype, but don't feel that there's really a place for it to be played, they just kind of quit. I mean, like, eventually, because I think that people have reached maybe their limits with how many ban lists can come out. Like, that common thing. Okay. I'll try to have this be the last part of my rant, I promise. I know we have other things to talk about this week. The last part is just the burning of the casual player. And by the burning, I mean it's kind of like...
Abyss.
Yes. No. It's like, how much can this player be made to endure? I think Konami's always kind of like testing that, it feels like. Where... So you know how like a product will come out, it's got expensive cards, you can't get them, so that's kind of annoying. That's like strike one. But then it's okay because they'll come out in the 10s next year or whatever. Like they'll reprint the SP Little Knights, the Triple Tactics, whatever.
Right.
And this is not a new phenomenon. This has happened for the last like many years. You think of like 2015 when you like bought the shit all stuff and got banned a couple weeks later. So that's like strike two. Is you're this budget player. You want to like compete, but you can't afford this card because it's only available secret. So you kind of have to wait, and you get excited when it's announced for the 10s or some other reprint set. You get the cards, and then boom, they're banned now. That happened with Quarter Century Stampede. That happened with Rarity Collection 1. That happened with Rarity Collection 2. It's happened many, many years where you finally get your hands on the thing, and it's banned shortly after. And, so that's kind of like, it's like strike two. And then strike three is just the general power creep of it all, where because you were already behind the curve and these two things happened to you before, then like a year or two has passed and now just that power level in general is a little bit higher. And so it's just I think that we have seen cycle after cycle after cycle of this, and eventually at some point players get burned and just jump off the bus, because there are people, the top players who are going to regionals and YCS events, this is fine for them. They've long since accepted this, this lifestyle. You can call it an addiction, whatever. They're going to get the expensive cards. They don't care, right? They want to play. They enjoy it. And they are enjoying Yu-Gi-Oh! Maybe more now than ever. But conversely, there are people who just had to watch as they finally got their hands on Diabell Stars and Poplars, and now like OSS gets banned. They had to watch as they could finally afford Napalosa and then had to watch it get banned. I can finally afford a Barone, it got banned. Like, it happens once or twice, you can deal with it. But I mean, if you're this player who's maybe been playing since 2016, 17, however long, I don't know, and watch that just constant cycle of like these lashings that the game is giving you, at what point do you just like, screw it, One Piece looks more fun? And this isn't me, by the way. This isn't me. This is many people's experience. So.
I had a thought a couple of days ago that you just reminded me of. I remember thinking everybody who hated the adventure engine and like there was hated there just a free negate that everyone's running their decks, I think they all quit Yu-Gi-Oh.
Okay,
I think they all quit Yu-Gi-Oh because the thing for a lot of people, that was their like, that engine was like a strike 2 for them, close to a strike 3. And then Konami didn't actually have to do anything to the adventure engine. They just power crept it. And so if you were molding at the free negate and the free bodies that engine was giving decks, you exploded in the formats to come. It just...
Yeah, because it's just only gotten more intense. And I 100% agree with you. I know, like, and by the way, when he says all those people quit, that's hyperbole. We know
that's true. Not everyone quit.
Not literally everyone. But I get the sentiment, which is just that, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Will really kind of burn people. And I've talked about kind of that whole, like, tier 0 to tier 0 to tier 0 thing. Like, it's whiplashy. And so a lot of the people that I was speaking with this weekend, it feels like that was kind of a lot of their experience. You can make arguments that this stuff isn't as bad as, I'm describing it. Like, to be clear, I'm still playing Yu-Gi-Oh! I still play Master Duel. I don't mind all this. I've gotten used to it. call it.
And I'm picking up every Yu-Gi-Oh set for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, you know, you can call it whatever. Like, I'm not saying that I'm quitting. I'm not encouraging anyone to. That is not what I'm doing here. What I'm saying, though, is that I see why these people who are quitting and like jumping ship to these other games, I see the reasons why they are, and I'm really pointing it out because, low key, I know there's some Konami employee listening right now.
Ooh.
And they need to, like, I'm sure they're aware of this, but I kind of want to say, like, in no uncertain terms, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is losing, like, players to this.
Say to somebody watching right now.
They are.
Hey,
they are. Like, they, you know, I know that there are people who are making decisions that, like, are informed by this phenomenon. And so that's kind of why I want to put it out there, because, like, this isn't like a complaining person online. This is like, these are real people with real lived experiences. You know what I mean?
Real people, real cases. Judge Judy.
Right. So, you know, okay, that's enough of that. Unless you have more to.
No, we have done enough.
Yeah, like, oh God, we're talking so long about this. I always like,
God.
I
just saw the time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, cool. There are other stories to get to.
There are, in fact, other stories.
If you liked that rant, though, we sure wouldn't mind if you drop a like or something. I don't know.
And if you didn't like the rant, then like the video so that we know.
Yeah. Become a channel member for more unhinged Yu-Gi-Oh rants. Okay. Yeah. So any other card game stuff that's happened? I got a couple of interesting ones.
Really? What you got?
So several stores refusing to stock Pokemon TCG Prismatic Evolution set for safety reasons.
Safety? Is something wrong with the set?
Yeah, so certain local game stores are allegedly refusing to stock the new Pokemon trading card game set Prismatic Evolutions, citing concerns about the safety of their employees and property. The new set is mainly focused on Stellar, Terra, EX versions of the various Evolutions. This is supposed to be like the year of Eevee, is kind of what Pokemon's doing this year. It's already been met with abnormally high demand, with some stores being informed that they would only receive a fraction of the packs that they ordered for the premium set. So, right off the gate, I didn't even know it was the year of Eevee. I
did not know that either.
But you can already imagine, you know, the Eevees are generally seen as the most popular, like, Pokemon overall. Like, it's the most popular Pokemon family.
Gotta be, like
line.
Number one Pokemon family, and then, like, Eevee itself is probably a top 10 Pokemon in general.
Yeah, because everyone's got their favorite evolution.
Speaking of which, what's your favorite evolution? 10, 9,
Jolteon.
8. Okay.
I'm a Jolteon. I'm kind of basic.
That is a basic choice.
Espeon's really close behind, though.
Espeon is cool. Umbreon's the best, though. That's all I'm saying.
What is you guys' favorite evolution?
Put it in the comments.
Yeah, because like everybody loves those. But anyway, so according to Reddit user, oh my God, I'm not going to try to say this. Certain game stores have already decided that Prismatic Evolutions is more trouble than it's worth. The user shared a screenshot of an Instagram post from Retro Emporium, which I did see this Instagram post. It's an LGS in Kent, Washington, that featured an announcement that said it was refusing to carry Prismatic Evolutions. The caption refers to, quote, overly aggressive and entitled behavior coming from collectors and resellers, stating that cardboard isn't worth the risk to the store and the people who work there. And this isn't the only store to have done so. Apparently another local game store.
Do you have to hire security to sell Pokemon cards now?
Well, no. I mean, it's just like you just don't sell them. Or I guess maybe you do have to hire security if you want to sell them.
I have such a hard time believing. I know we saw the riots with like the Pikachu like Van Gogh collaboration thing, but like, and I thought that was just like a very exclusive card. But you're telling me that people are so ravenous. The next main set is like people are like maybe we shouldn't stock this because people are just crazy.
Yeah, it really says something because like I think. I guess it's already weird. I guess the Pokemon company cut down on like how many were going to be delivered to card shops. That's kind of strange. Like I guess they just aren't able to produce enough quickly, or
I guess if demand was just higher than they expected, then yeah, the distributors start to cut product and that would upset people. But I don't know if that should cause violence.
I think what they're mostly concerned about is like two things. A, there's just people who like steal the shit.
That's true.
Break into these card shops.
We've told many a crime story
every week on this pod. Someone's stealing Pokemon cards, like breaking into shops, destroying windows, doors, knocking shelves down. So there's already that, and then also we think of the Van Gogh thing where people are like at that that Van Gogh art museum harassing employees.
Right.
They were. I guess who knows? They're shouting at them over, just crowding, stampeding, and it's a shame that like a card store wouldn't want to supply, like like have this because they're just that concerned about like all of that. It's crazy.
Like the analogy I'm thinking of, it's like Pokemon cards are becoming lottery tickets, but they're lottery tickets that have significantly less security around them. Because can you imagine, right, that you're walking by a gas station and they just have all their lottery tickets on sale, and there's no digital apparatus in place. There is literally a $2 million lottery ticket just sitting in this gas station.
Yeah.
Like, you might not break in to get it, but
like people will, and then word will spread, and like there will be a mob of people.
And I guess that's how people are starting to view Pokemon cards, that they're money. There's printed money, which is insane because this is really just one big gamble. You can open up a case of Pokemon cards and not see a single one of those cards that are worth thousands of dollars.
Yeah, so that's just kind of, I thought that was an interesting one because like this is for the first time like a shop kind of getting ahead of the controversy of like the danger.
But they're getting ahead of it by saying we're not going to have it.
Yeah, they're getting ahead of it by like not stocking the thing, which the Pokemon company can't be too happy to hear that.
No, because I mean, like that card game companies, they don't make their money off the individual sale of cards. They make their money by people ordering like cases to then sell.
Yeah.
But I don't know how you even fix that because it's like they're suffering from their own success. The Pokemon company's like, oh, we did a good job marketing our game and people really like it. But now it's getting dangerous. How do we make our game less popular so people stop acting crazy?
Yeah.
Maybe they overprint. Maybe that's the idea. Maybe you just print so much product that you kill the secondary market. That doesn't feel good.
Well, that's an interesting one. Let us know though if like you're excited about this set. I mean, I get that the EVs are a big draw for a lot of people. So.
Are you going to rob your LGS for an evolution? Let us know.
Yes, please self-report in the comments. Okay, the next one's a quick one from ICV2. So this is the top 25 sealed product sales chart coming from TCGPlayer for December 2024.
Okay,
so, we finally got the stats and the data.
So just for December, not the whole year, right?
Yeah, this is just the best-selling sealed card game products in December on TCGPlayer. I say all that so that you guys have the proper context. This is not
that means it's basically just U.S. sales.
Yeah, and it's also, this isn't accounting for like card shops. This is obviously not accounting for like retailers like Walmart, Target, Best Buy.
And it's not even singles on TCGPlayer. It's just
this isn't
sealed.
Singles. But it's always kind of, sometimes we'll bring up the ones that come from Japan, like those Japanese, like best-selling card
metrics.
game things. So this could be kind of interesting. So the number one product is the Surging Sparks booster box.
Of course.
From Pokemon. And then the number 2 and 3 are the One Piece Emperors in the New World booster box and a booster box case. So that's like number 2 and number 3.
Wow, One Piece got both spots.
Yeah. Number 4 is Prismatic Evolutions Elite Trainer box. 5 is a Pokemon 151 booster bundle. So another Pokemon thing.
Jesus.
6 is Surging Sparks booster box case.
Oh my God.
From Pokemon. 7 is Innistrad Remastered Collector Booster Display from Magic. And finally, Yu-Gi-Oh! Hits number 8 with the Crossover Breakers booster box. And just to get through the 10, number 9 is the Magic the Gathering Foundation's Collector Booster Display. And then finally at number 10 is a Premium Booster Box from One Piece. So, interesting stuff. I want to say right off the bat, before anyone thinks this is like some anti-Yu-Gi-Oh! Propaganda, these lists in particular tend to be very heavily emphasized, like swayed by like what game got a new like core set that month,
right,
or what game got a new like big reprint set that month. Because like for instance, I know like for November when I saw one of these, like Yu-Gi-Oh! Was really high up on the list with like Quarter Century, Bonanza. Like, and it's still on this one too. Like it's on number 14.
Yeah, it's not in the top 10, but
So like I'm not like saying this, Yu-Gi-Oh's dying, but it is interesting to see that like, like we were saying earlier, One Piece is doing really well here. I was surprised to only see 2 Magic products on this list. in the top 10
Magic
anyway.
did not have a core set release in December, so that tracks.
Yeah. So just got some interesting information.
Because I think the number one takeaway here is that Pokemon is cracked. That Pokemon's reach is insane.
Yeah, Pokemon's huge. One Piece is growing.
One Piece is the only member of the possible. We'll say the top 5. I think One Piece is the only member of the top 5 other than Pokemon that had a core set release in December. Because Yu-Gi-Oh had crossover breakers,
but that's not really considered a core.
Yeah, I mean, we as Yu-Gi-Oh players, we already knew what that was. I'm glad it made the list at least. Like at least it was there.
Yeah. Also, you didn't see a different card game until all the way down at spot 22, which was Digimon's special limited set booster box.
We made it, and that was a weird set too.
And then at 24, Disney Lorcana Ozurite C booster box.
Wait, wasn't that well, I forget when that one released. That was in December, right?
It might have been like in November.
I hope that's a November release, because if that's a main set for Lorcana released in December that low, that's troubling.
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of interesting.
Why am I asking? I'll just Google it so I don't spread misinformation.
Yeah, we love to do that.
We
get on here and just lie through our
Especially,
teeth.
I'm sitting here with a tablet supposing the release of a product.
Lying and speculating. We can like look this shit up. Yeah, so I thought it was kind of an interesting little top 25. Like the sort of person who purchases on TCGPlayer, I do think is something that's worth kind of adding to the conversation as well. You know what I mean? Because like this isn't to say like normal people. No offense to all of us card gamers, but it's like if you're buying from TCGPlayer, you probably are like buying with high intent. Like you kind of know exactly what it is that you're getting. This isn't like a random player who maybe kind of like, you know, they have some money burning hole in their pocket and they like buy a booster box in their
and that
card
set
shop
did
or
release
whatever.
in November.
It released in November. Okay. Yeah. So, you know, just some things to keep in mind. I thought it was fun to share. I will link, or if I remember to, I will link this sales chart in the
Let's
video
start
description.
some arguments.
And you guys can let me know like what, you know, what were you buying in December? Here's their little quick blurb. Pokemon TCG Surging Sparks took the top spot again on the December 2024 top 25 sealed products chart, which means that I guess it was the top spot in November too.
Because Surging Sparks didn't come out in December.
Yeah, this product was followed by 2 One Piece Emperors in the New World products, then Pokemon TCG Scarlet and Violet Prismatic Evolutions Elite Trainer Box, and then Scarlet and Violet 151. Pokemon TCG improved to catching 13 spots on the chart, which is up from 9 spots on last month's.
They were really slacking in November.
Magic the Gathering and One Piece each nabbed 4 spots. Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG snapped up 2 slots on the chart, and Disney and Digimon each took 1.
I mean, I felt my own personal situation in December was, man, there really aren't any like new cards coming out this month. I got to wait all the way until 2025 until I get something. One Piece had their new set, and I was interested in that because Buggy was getting a strategy. So like, okay, at least One Piece is dropping this month. But I was like, oh, I got to wait until 2025. So I really think that this list is for a weak month, where there really wasn't a lot going on.
I mean, I think like this list will also look probably a little bit different when Supreme Darkness comes out, or especially next month when the Blue Eye Structure comes out. I feel like that's going to be like probably top 5
I think
in the
January
charts.
and February lists will be way more interesting. I think there's just more releases.
Yeah, so I'll try to, if I can remember, I'll try to bring up those lists when they drop, because I always
And then we
find
can argue all over again.
I find these to be quite intriguing. I'm hoping that people in the comments, even right now, are hashing it out.
Guys,
kindly.
Go ahead, just screenshot a portion of this picture. Not the whole thing, just a portion of it so you can make your point, post it on Twitter, and start some controversy.
And tag us in it.
Tell them the pod sent you.
Yeah, so anywho. All right. Well, that's all my card game stuff. Did you find anything?
I did not have any card game stuff.
I mean, I feel like there wasn't a lot.
I could not find. I was trying to find a Pokemon Crime, but ever since the Yakuza story broke, every search engine I tried was like, "Hey, did you hear about the Yakuza and Pokemon? Did you hear about the Japanese mob in Pokemon? Hey, keep your children away from Pokemon. The Japanese mob might get them." Like,
right?
I hate the degradation of news on the internet.
It's very tough to find things.
But I did have other stories.
Moving on.
Like, it's another week, so why don't we talk about a failed video game?
Oh, some gaming news. I have a few of those.
Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League continues to cause pain for Warner Brothers as developer Rocksteady sees another round of layoffs. Yes, this is another gaming story about people losing their jobs because more well-paid people made some bad decisions.
So what are they saying?
So in adding another notch to this metaphorical casualty count, the recent throwing in of the towel by the ill-fated Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League has resulted in yet another round of cuts. This news, curiously enough, was not publicly announced by either the studio themselves or the parent company, Warner Brothers Games, but rather by Eurogamer editor-in-chief Tom Phillips, who learned of the staffing shakeup directly from half a dozen staff impacted by the redundancies. So why does it sound like they didn't even want to take responsibility for laying off their own employees? They kind of did it in silence, like, maybe no one's paying attention. People are busy right now. I'm just going to lay off like a chunk of our workforce because we made bad decisions.
Yeah. You really have it out for Suicide Squad. I feel like that's a game you don't seem to be too fond of.
I am very upset about this game. Like, I was not, what's the word I'm looking for? Optimistic about the game when it first announced. I wanted something closer to the Arkham style of game, so I really wasn't sure if I wanted to play a game of the villains of DC Comics. But then the first couple trailers came out, and I was like, okay, this looks like it could be good. And then we got to within a month of the game's release, and I was horrified at what the game had become. I was like, why did they try and turn this game halfway into Anthem? Like, what do you mean there's a battle pass? Like, it's a live service. Why are you doing all that? Like, the game was a disaster. It was kind of like an avalanche of just disappointment.
Yeah, so I don't have like a story for this because it's kind of just been an ongoing thing, but you've probably heard about the SAG-AFTRA voice actors strike.
Yeah.
Well, I heard that like Genshin Impact players were really upset because like recent updates to the game have been missing English voice lines for some characters because those voice actors are on strike because like I don't want to spread too much misinformation here, but Hoyoverse has said that they do not want to like sign this one agreement that like protects voice actors from
an AI,
from like having AI replicate their voices, and
I have heard something similar. Why I don't have a source either. I haven't played Genshin in a while, but I have played Zenless Zone Zero in the last week, and I can confirm that also in that game, for the first time ever, there were moments where the characters were talking and they had no voices. It was very strange and off-putting. So I looked into it, and people online were saying, this is all because of the strike. Voice actors are not working for, or certain voice actors are not working for Hoyoverse right now, and that's a bit of a bummer because these gacha games are
they're kind of built, I would say, on
like personality,
on the idea of the characters' personalities shining through and being why you want to like spin for them.
Like losing their voice is a huge blow. They put so much effort into marketing and trying to sell you on this like bear who's also a construction worker, or this female cop who can do like backflips and shoot her gun. Like they do so much effort, and then all of a sudden, oh yeah, but she also has no voice in the latest update. So
yeah, a little tricky. And I've seen some people are like kind of blaming the voice actors, like you stupid voice actors, you need to just
shut up and I guess don't
voice.
Shut up because you got a voice.
Yeah,
but
don't shut up.
Only say things that your character would say for the game.
Yeah. Anywho, though, I've got a weird little quick gaming one. Sony plans to add real smells to games.
Not this nonsense again.
And GTA 6 fans are all saying
weren't you supposed to buy the smell-o-vision thing?
Well, that was like a different thing, and I never got to buy it because it was expensive. Like I was like,
oh, that's right. You were close. I remember you looked at the
looked
product.
At it was like $200.
I do
was
remember.
Like, never mind. Fans aren't quite sure how it's possible, but Sony is reportedly working on making in-game scents available on PlayStation. For years, virtual reality slowly crept its way into video games, and Sony is at the forefront of that charge. Why are they talking about the freaking PSVR headset in this?
They gotta put some bloat in the article.
Okay, well, anyway, at CES 2025, which is happening this week, I do have another story about some of the cool stuff shown there. Sony revealed conceptual technology allowing you to smell in-game surroundings, which is equally innovative and disgusting.
Agreed. Can you imagine what Grand Theft Auto smells like?
Yeah, there'd be a few scents that I think could get
There'd be a lot of scents that just, you wouldn't really want in your living room.
Yeah, the CES 2025 press conference featured a playtest of The Last of Us, where players could smell the rotten fungus around them.
Why?
Sony did not reveal how far away the technology is from being implemented, but some GTA 6 fans don't want any part of it for obvious reasons.
Facts.
Here's what some people on Twitter, I guess, are saying. I think I speak for everyone when I say nobody asked for this. Someone said, I can't think of a single game that will enhance my experience by smelling it. So, yeah, I mean, like, what do you think? You want to smell your games?
I'm really trying to think of a game I want to smell. I barely want to smell most things in real life.
Yeah, I feel like it's just not something that they need to really be doing.
Because I feel like I was thinking of like games I really loved as a child. I was like, oh, what about Spyro? And I was like, oh, I feel like if I smelled Spyro, I wouldn't like it as much.
Yeah, and I guess like people in GTA are talking about like, you get like a hooker in the game.
Relax. Before you get to that, you're in an inner city where there's litter and trash.
Anybody who's like been through like New York City, like Manhattan, smells like piss.
You're smelling the exhaust of all the traffic.
Yeah, it's just I think it. But that's something that they're adding.
Like,
I mean,
what? I'm really want.
I just don't know what
would be worth smelling.
Game, okay, like some of the weird like gotcha game, maybe like
even they probably don't smell great.
Well, you could like make it smell. Maybe there's something, I don't know. No, but in all seriousness, I mean, maybe like a game like Animal Crossing might smell okay, or like a cooking game.
A cooking game.
Yeah, like, that'd be kind of nice. Unless you're burning the food, then it smells like smoke.
Yeah, but a little too realistic for my taste.
Yeah, like I think like maybe there could be something with that, but
I mean, it's a good game. Maybe Pac-Man. I feel like Pac-Man would have an inoffensive smell.
Like if you could smell the fruit or whatever, like that'd be.
And I feel like Pac-Man himself wouldn't have a smell because he's a thing.
But yeah, I wouldn't want it in like these nasty survival horror games where it's like you smell like dead, rotting corpses and like zombies.
Resident Evil. I bet that smells good.
Yeah, that just kind of sounds nasty. So, but that's a cool thing that you can have.
That will be, people really, they tore into the PlayStation Portal. I think this would be way worse.
Yeah, which like I've heard like some people say they kind of like the PlayStation Portal a little bit. So
the internet says the Portal is the worst handheld gaming device that's ever been known to man. Now the people that I know who've actually used and held it and own one, they tell a different story. So I don't know what to think.
Okay, so and continuing my CES coverage. CES had a bunch of exciting things from like mainline companies. Dell rebranded their laptops, NVIDIA made new graphics cards. But what I'm bringing to the pod today is some of just the weird stuff. And so I'm just going to quickly run through these, and I'm just going to tell you the concept.
All right.
And we can both like sort of rate it like interested or like what's the point.
We'll do interested and then PlayStation Smell-O-Vision.
Yeah, that's your barometer of success. Okay. A futuristic body scan. So French company Withings, which makes smart scales and watches, debuted the prototype of a full-body health screening mirror that looks like something out of a Ridley Scott movie. So the product, which is a giant scale and a body-sized screen, is just a concept. But basically, you step on this scale, right? Mm-hmm. And it will measure your heart rate, pH levels, muscle composition, sleep quality, exercise recovery, and more. It would work in tandem with other wearables like a smartwatch, combining the biometric data from throughout your day into a snapshot of your overall health. So, what do you think about that?
That's really only useful for people who are already healthy, because they're the only people who would spend all that money to confirm what they already know.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of like a little like. So, like, here's a little quick video. I'll try to, like, show it. You see this woman, and she's, like, stepping up onto the scale. It shows her feet for some reason.
I mean, why not?
and like, there's like a mirror in front of the scale, and like it's just scanning you and like telling you all these numbers and stuff and graphs, and they show up and they're like telling, I guess, just all of these things about her body and blood pressure, whatever, ECG.
I mean,
so what do we think? Like, is this something that you would like have in your house?
God, I mean, no. Like most people, I'm overweight. I don't need to spend like a few grand to be told that every day in my own home. No, under no circumstances. Maybe at a hospital. I feel like hospitals could use that.
Yeah, it could be kind of cool. Like, I think at a doctor's appointment to just like quickly step on this thing, and it kind of just gives the doctor,
as long as like it doesn't take up
biometrics.
too much room. I think that could be very useful in a place where health, screenings matter, and that's where I would want to go to be told I need to eat better and exercise more. Not in my own home where it costs me a few grand. No.
My thought was honestly the privacy concerns. 'Cause, like, that's a lot of data.
It's a lot of data, but a lot of that data we already transmit with our smartwatches and stuff.
But now it's like they're just, let's just get it all in one go. Like, as you step on this, and Withing says it doesn't store your biometric data on the device, rather sending it to the company's servers to derive
send it
insights.
straight to Google.
It's like, here's the data. So it seems a little dystopian, but tech companies are already collecting and sharing our health information. So I guess this isn't anything super new.
I mean, for the people who are really into like health and their health, they already spend a lot of money on their bodies, so I'm sure that they won't mind spending another few grand. Like, what was it, like 15 grand? They'll do that.
All right, well, here's the next thing. A hologram machine that puts your likeness in a tiny box. Have you ever wished you could like just put your body like in a 3D projection of your body inside of a tiny little portable box?
No.
And you can like, I guess, yeah, so here it is. The HoloBox Mini, a portable hologram projector. You like, I guess, scan yourself or something, and like you're inside this little box. It's a travel-sized version of its human-sized HoloBox, which shows a live, full-body projection of a person, product, or display. It's more intimate than Zoom, the company said, and can be used to greet guests at a hotel or conduct virtual doctor's visits. The smaller... sorry, go ahead.
I'm trying to figure this out. Is it... is it not like a pre-recorded thing? It can perform like live?
I think it's pre-recorded.
Okay.
Like, I think, so it's like, imagine, Alec, you have like a mansion. And like, you're kind of eccentric. You've got a mansion. And like, whenever you invite
I love that I have to be a billionaire for this to make
yeah, this is the only way. Once I tell you the price, you'll get it. And so like, you're inviting your guests to, some weird party kind of thing you're putting together. And so like, you can't be bothered to come and greet them yourself.
And if I were a billionaire, I wouldn't.
Yeah, and so instead you got this Holo Connect box that's like projecting you, in the little entrance area, and it's like got a pre-recorded like welcome, blah 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 blah, and like it says
it would just flick everybody off and call them poor.
So I guess, and maybe you can also like send this to people or something. I don't really fucking know. Guess how much it costs?
Okay. I know hologram-like technology is it's still quite new and very expensive. So I'm gonna place it.
It's like, it looks like it's maybe like this tall. I don't know.
Is it really that big?
Or something. I mean, like from what I see in this picture with this girl, like
that's actually hard to tell.
it's like 2 feet
it's on
tall.
a table.
I don't know.
If it's that big, I'm gonna go ahead.
It's like the size of a mini fridge, or something like that.
I'm gonna go ahead and place it right above maybe $5,000.
Yeah, you're right about on the money. It's $4,500.
Okay, I was a little
plus a software subscription fee.
Of course there is.
So yeah, it's probably much more, really. Okay, here is the next one: needle-free injections.
All right.
Would you be interested?
You got
in
my
such a thing?
attention. This is the first one where I'm like, hey, this could be something.
For the squeamish, getting a vaccination or a smidgen of Botox, interesting thing to add there, can be a whole production. One study in Britain found that 20% of parents and 60% of children are afraid of needles, which might lead to them skipping vaccinations.
Yep.
Well, Dutch company Flowbeams wants to change that with BoldJet, a handheld device that shoots imperceptibly small streams of liquid, skinnier than a human hair, penetrating the outer layer of skin without the pain of a regular injection.
As good as that is, that sounds terrifying.
I mean, I guess when you hear it described that way, it does.
Yeah,
it kind of feels a little bit like creepy what's happening. But like, I guess it's just like, yeah, like we're just like shooting the injection like into you, but like you won't feel it.
I'm gonna tell you right now, Paul, that is about to make a lot of money.
Yeah, so this is how it looks. It's just like,
Because like
cool.
you telling me that now people can take their Ozempic without a needle? Oh, they about to go crazy.
Yeah, I've always wanted some Ozempic just injected into me.
It's like I've heard so many people tell me that they only don't get into Ozempic because they don't like needles.
Oh, is it something? So it is something that's like injected. I thought it was
that's what I was told.
I thought it was a pill.
I was told it was a needle, but I might maybe there is also a pill. I don't know.
Anywho, a spoon that makes food taste better. Would you be interested in such a thing?
My food always tastes good, but I'll humor this product.
Yeah. So if you're looking for ways to cut down your sodium intake, a fancy spoon could be the answer. Japanese beer company Kirin claims. The electric salt spoon uses electric currents to concentrate sodium ion molecules and amplify the taste of salt and umami. So, like, here's this guy, he's got like the spoon. And so whenever you're eating stuff with the spoon, like it's not as straightforward as a regular utensil. To close the electric loop, you have to place your fingers on a metal strip on the back of the spoon and put the device against your mouth for a few seconds before swallowing. This person says, I tried some ramen broth straight out of a thermos at the booth, with and without the spoon. I think I could tell the difference, but maybe I was just famished after hours of touching gadgets. But yeah, so it's like a spoon that'll kind of add a little bit of like saltiness and
I
stuff
hope
to
they were very careful with that tech demo.
I would hope that these are all like very heavily sanitized and like
if we're all just like eating off these spoons, they couldn't have had one spoon for every guest.
Yeah, so like I was kind of like,
So that one's really interesting to me. So essentially the idea, but cutting down the sodium, is you could use less salt because this spoon is going to ionize the sodium.
Yeah, it's going to like kind of create more sodium intensity from a lesser amount. So
less salt, but you can get more of the salt effect. There's something there. It's
$125.
$125 for a spoon?
Yeah.
That makes me eat my soup more slowly?
I guess so.
Now you can miss with that, Chief.
I guess what's interesting about that is it's kind of one of those things where like people who are like already extremely health conscious, I feel maybe wouldn't even really need this, but they'd also be the only person who I think would be crazy enough to spend that much money on like a
spoon,
like some spoon to. Okay, a litter box with multi-cat facial recognition.
What is the purpose of having cat facial recognition?
The Purobot Ultra from PetKit speaks for itself.
We just be making stuff, y'all.
That's CES in a nutshell. So many weird ass concept products. This one's a litter box. It's paired with an app. It claims to have a facial recognition system that tells you which of your cats is pooping and when.
Why do I need to know?
That's right. Even your tabby is not safe from the forward march of facial recognition. Right now, the box is, guess how much? $900.
Okay, I was gonna say $500 or $600
for a $12 a month subscriction. Because you gotta add that on. You can even get video of your cat's pooping sent to your phone.
Who is this for?
Like, what the fuck is this? I don't understand. Like,
look, I know a lot of people that love their cats. I've cared for many of a cat in my life. I understand people love their cats. I refuse to believe there are people who love their cats so much that they want video of their cats pooping.
Yeah, I just don't.
And
like,
if they do, I'm sorry.
It almost feels like
something's wrong.
Is that like a fetish? Like, why would you want to like watch the cat poop?
Oh, you can't call if that's a fetish. That's a whole other problem with that statement.
Okay, I thought of one use case, just one. No, this is a valid one.
Okay.
So my sister has cats, and like sometimes like one of the cats had surgery, and so they had like a cat sitter, but they were like very much encouraging this cat sitter to like, okay, keep me like posted on, because one cat's like not supposed to really like be jumping from heights because she got like surgery on her leg, and like she has to eat a certain amount, like, you know, to just all these. It's basically she's just much more fragile and needs to be like watched more carefully.
Right.
And so they travel a lot, and so like they want to just be up to date on the cat's health, and like, so I feel like maybe if your cat was having like some stomach problems and maybe the veterinarian said like to monitor, you know, their diet and like monitor like, you know, their poop and stuff.
Yeah, watch them poop.
Maybe like this Listen, I'm trying. Okay, I'm trying to give it like a. I don't know. This is bullshit.
It's like,
also, $900 and like you're paying a monthly fee.
It's way too specific. I think they really just made it for shock value.
Headphones that clean your ear canals.
There's
yay, nay.
Yeah, there's something there, but like it has to be done really well.
Yeah. So here's a picture of them. They look kind of like AirPods Max or whatever. A buildup of earwax can cause hearing loss, earaches, and phantom noises, studies have shown. The new EarSight Flow device from B-Bird cleans your ears without scary cotton swabs or trips to the doctor, the company claims. It looks like a pair of headphones, and users get voice prompts throughout to help them operate it correctly. It contains tools for cleaning and drying your ears, as well as a skinny, bendable camera for looking inside your ear canal while you do it. I imagine this tickles like nothing has ever tickled before, but I didn't get to try it. It's only $199. Like that actually seems like less than I expected it to cost.
Do they even do the job of earphones?
I don't know.
Or are these just a product?
I think
to
that
clean
they're
your ears?
well, because if they speak to you, then they must have like earphones.
Because I'm not gonna lie, I'm a regular dude. I grew up in a regular house. We use like cotton swabs.
Yeah, but they say aren't like good for you.
I don't care.
Yeah, I'm just saying like that's what they. No, I use them too.
Because like, well, I took that tone because many times in my life people are like, "Oh, these are bad. You shouldn't use them," and I'm like,
"Yeah, but
I've used
I
them
do
my whole life, and so has my entire like family.
Yeah,
we can all hear well
You're
enough.
all alive.
Like,
no,
I
yeah,
don't need
same.
whatever that is.
This seems interesting. It's just like I wonder if it's comfortable or not. Like that for me, like I'm always kind of anxious about like sensations in my ears or something. Like I just feel like it'd be a little.
I think while cleaning your ears is important, and I will acknowledge that it's likely that like Q-tips are not the safest way to do it. I think if you really care about safely cleaning your ears, you should just go see a professional. Call it a day.
I mean, because also there's like $200. So
And you know you're gonna pay like maybe just about that much with a professional. So go ahead and get it done.
Yeah. Anyways, you got any more stories? I'm sure you might have one or two good juicy ones for us.
Yeah, this one we'll see.
Okay.
Meta is ending its fact-checking program in favor of a community notes system similar to X, or Twitter as I call it.
Yeah, I heard about that. Oh God, this one's
The tricky one. Let's see if we can navigate it.
Let's walk the eggshells.
So Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg announced a series of major changes to the company's moderation policies and practices on Tuesday, citing a shifting political and social landscape and a desire to embrace free speech. That's a good thing. That could never go wrong.
Free speech. Woo!
The company is also changing its content moderation policies around political topics and undoing changes that reduce the amount of political content in user feeds, Zuckerberg said. The changes will affect Facebook and Instagram, two of the largest social media platforms in the world, each boasting billions of users, as well as Threads, which does not boast billions of users. They didn't say that. I just wanted to include that. We're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms, Zuckerberg said in a video. More specifically, here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to get rid of fact checkers. Ooh, that's a fun statement. And replace them with community notes similar to X, starting in the U.S.
Okay.
So I do find it interesting that he kept saying like similar to X, similar to X, similar to X. I could have sworn X was Facebook's competitor.
Yeah, I mean, I also saw this story and plenty of thoughts about it. Like, I'm going to try for a change to keep my thoughts I'm going to just focus on like the features and like maybe the cause for them. Mm-hmm. So I know that he said like he found like people maybe said that like fact checkers in California were too biased and that's why they're going to be like moving some of their moderation team to Texas or something. That was like part of
removing fact checkers is the idea behind that is essentially to allow people to say what they want. Yeah. And now the community will correct them. It's like a communal fact checking.
I mean, I'll just keep it a buck. I think that's just cost cutting.
it's cost cutting,
And they're trying to kind of dress it up as something else.
I think it works towards heavy algorithm like type feeds where if you're in an echo chamber and the only type of fact checking that's going around is the community notes, as long as you're saying the things that your echo chamber agrees with, then the community notes will never disagree with you.
I have mixed thoughts on this community notes thing. I know there was a story like last year maybe that we talked about where like YouTube was going to be looking into kind of doing a similar community notes feature. Twitter does community notes, and I would say that overall community notes are one of the better features Twitter has. Twitter has a lot of crazy features that hardly work, and its algorithm's crazy. There's a lot of bad things you can say about it. But I think the community notes feature is one of the better ones because it does mostly help to kind of cut down on misinformation, and the people that are leaving the community notes tend to care about it like being correct and stuff. It's just that like, I don't know, like leaving that sort of a job just to the layman users to kind of just correct stuff or like point out inaccuracies.
It's kind of like saying, hey, peasants, fight amongst yourselves.
Yeah, because like it does feel like it kind of just could cause more arguments than it. You know, like we were talking about this in a pod before. The whole community notes can sometimes be a little petty.
Yes, they can.
Like sometimes, like, just, like the wording of it, and this is, like no matter where you kind of land on the take on the news itself. Like sometimes people they'll leave these community notes, but like they'll kind of have much like a little bit of a catty language to it. Like the tone's a little
Anytime
rude.
I've ever seen a community note about like a Jake Paul story or something, it's always like written in a way.
It's kind of condescending.
Yeah.
And so I already kind of don't care for that. Like if they're going to take these community notes and maybe like, then if they're going to take them and maybe like then rewrite them to be more like just not like biased, just kind of like it's just
they can't do that, Paul. They'd be checking the facts of the community note.
Yeah, so then I don't know if they're really planning on doing it. They'll probably have AI to synthesize that all. They'll just take that job, just take everyone's community notes and just AI synthesize it. But yeah, that's my main thing about community notes. Like the concept's good, but I do think that it can just it gets a little rude. And then also, like you said, like depending on what sort of echo chamber you exist in, because we all exist in some echo chamber somewhere on the internet. That's just true. The reality. You know, like if I'm spreading some anti-vax conspiracy, flat earth thing, whatever, and like all my friends kind of just agree with it, then like they're not going to community notes fact check me. Like, so like will it ever get fact? Like will it ever get like a community note to it?
And the people like you to just kind of say whatever you want. I think the issue might come in is when people are asking questions online and they're in these search engines. These search engines are pulling up, they'll pull up Facebook posts that are relevant to the question they're asking. And they're like, oh, this must be an answer because Google showed it to me. But there's no fact checking. It's just there's just the community notes feature. But it was fed to a group of people who believe the like misinformation. So someone else now has gained misinformation.
And I also, I hear this freedom of speech thing, and we all kind of know that's sort of code for just other things. But freedom of speech in general, like, sounds great. It's just that it's social media, bro. Like, things get so crazy on these sites. Like, just people will kind of say whatever, and I guess their new angle is, well, we're just going to allow it all. Like, we're going to allow you to just say whatever, and the community will regulate itself, right? Like, free marketplace of ideas, and just, if it's to be corrected, it will be corrected, and then but like, we'll still allow it to exist. Like, that's the main issue I sometimes have is like, when the misinformation or whatever is allowed to exist just with the community notes underneath it, because that's not really enough sometimes. Like, sometimes I think, like, if someone like blatantly lies about, some developing story, then you might see the headline 30 minutes after it's posted, and the community notes don't show up until like a couple hours after. Because like sometimes with extremely fast developing stories, like international news, tragedies, natural disasters, like, getting good info fast is better. Now, that's not to say that maybe the community notes are still faster than a moderation team could be at getting at this stuff. I don't know. But I worry because it's like, what that approach of like leave the thing up just with the asterisk footnote sometimes feels more risky.
I mean,
than having it get moderated and taken down. But some might view that as censorship.
There are potential benefits to a system like this. If we're relaxing moderation on Meta and Meta's platforms, then I think we could get back to using Facebook and even Instagram for some of the more beneficial uses of them. Like I remember when during times of like civil unrest and people were protesting, lots of information was being shared on social media. We're gathering here. Like, don't go over there. There's a fire over here. Yeah. And in we'll call it the 2024 version of like Instagram and Facebook, such things would just get filtered immediately, and there will be no sharing of those types of those things.
Yeah.
But if we're relaxing moderation, there is and I don't know how much we're relaxing, but if we're relaxing it enough where people can make of social media what they want of it, then there is some benefit as long as everyone gets to use like Meta platforms the way they want to. Then I guess it's fine. I mean, I'm not the CEO of this company, and I barely like post on social media, so I don't really have a dog in a fight like that.
Yeah, I mean, all I'll say is if my Facebook and like Instagram feeds end up anything like what Twitter kind of tends to look like these days, I'll just use them even less than I already do.
I just want to see less ads for hymns. My hair is still here.
If hymns is the worst that you're seeing, then honestly you should be grateful, because some of the stuff I see on there, Jesus Christ, these
I don't know what
crazy.
You're looking at online, Paul.
No, I'm talking about Twitter ads specifically. They're crazy. Twitter ads are just, it's. I don't even want to. I can't even say it on the pod. It's like some of the things I've seen.
Paul get banned on YouTube.
I think we navigated that topic pretty well. I would say I tried my hardest.
I'm gonna give you a round of applause.
Yeah, I think we did a good job with that one. All right, let's celebrate with some pot.
All right.
So, viewer questions, as always, you guys can submit these with the link in the description.
It's
we
down
love
there.
Hearing your questions. Because they've gotten so long, I tend to just read them off the tablet
Guys,
now.
I just glanced at his tablet. These are very long. Good job.
However, there are some very good ones this week. I mean, people always have good questions, but like, I noticed some really good ones.
Especially salient ones.
Okay.
I don't even remember what salient means.
So this one's from Blue Yeti.
Blue Yeti.
Do you think Konami would ever sell the rights to Yu-Gi-Oh? If so, to who? Bandai, Wizards of the Coast, etc. And what might change if they did? I've actually seen a couple of questions, like about this sort of thing. So
just to clarify, Konami can't sell the rights to Yu-Gi-Oh because they don't actually own the rights to Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, Konami's actually just being licensed.
Yeah,
those
they
rights.
have a license to Yu-Gi-Oh.
So that's all kind of
that can get taken from them.
That's all from Shueisha, right? But to answer the question though, if another like maybe card game manufacturer like Bandai or Wizards or
like if Shueisha were to revoke Konami's license to Yu-Gi-Oh and then sell it to someone else, that could be interesting.
I mean, what would the major changes be? I want to say like the first thing that comes to
a complete uprooting of our tournament system, since Konami's been in charge of it for so long.
Yeah, the major things that would change would be probably product structure. That's probably number one, would just the product structure. The tournament system would probably change a lot.
That would completely.
And they might just do the reboot everybody's asking for, where they just kind of like rip all the roots out of the ground and they're just like, listen.
I think if it were Bandai, they would definitely reboot it.
Yeah, like you're getting a Dragon Ball Fusion World, or you're getting like a Vanguard Overdress. Like, that's just what it would be. I don't know if that would be a good or a bad thing, because I think that the one thing that, and many people probably don't want to admit that Konami does a good job of this, but something that they do a good job of is like, they have the most intimate knowledge of Yu-Gi-Oh's history, like more than any of us do.
Yeah.
So if a new company came in, like we all like say like, oh, Yu-Gi-Oh needs a reboot or a fresh coat of paint or whatever, but like, would you necessarily want entirely new people at the helm who don't appreciate maybe certain cards that like maybe shouldn't be like allowed, or sort of reasons why a certain tournament policy is the way that it is. Like, I don't know. So,
I mean, I feel like the only company that I think could have a real shot at doing it well would be like Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah, I think like Wizards would probably be fine at it. I think Bandai would also be okay. Like, they wouldn't be complete strangers to Yu-Gi-Oh either.
Bandai has Yu-Gi-Oh licenses. It's just not for the card game. And Wizards, it's a U.S. company, and so there might be some issues with like culture and collaboration between the two.
Yeah, Wizards being so Western, that seems like that'd be kind of a concern.
It's like Konami's already, or Yu-Gi-Oh has already had some problems with Western companies. So.
Some immediate things that kind of come to mind, like Bandai would definitely do more like promos, alt arts, full art. Like, I feel like they would try to introduce that if they could
they
get the
would
approval for that.
Certainly lean into the anime more. They would, because they would somehow get more license.
They would tie those two things together.
Tie their licenses closer together.
I think Wizards, on the other hand, might focus more on like, I think the local game store kind of community stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, love them or hate them, it does seem like Wizards is far more in touch with their community than any other card game publisher.
There'd be a lot more transparency than we're used to.
Yeah, so I think we would expect a little bit more transparency and like just blog posts, just straight up saying like, here's why we changed this, here's what we're thinking. So would they be better?
I don't think anyone out the gate could be better than Konami. Maybe in like 10 years, maybe. But in the short term, if Konami ever lost their license to Yu-Gi-Oh, Yu-Gi-Oh would implode for a little bit. Like, it would be dead for a little while.
Yeah. Okay, so here is another one, which is, I know we do a lot of finger pointing at Konami, which most of the time is deserved, but how do you guys think in general do you guys think in general there are things that we can do as a community to help further or better the experience of playing Yu-Gi-Oh?
Yes.
Go off, King.
I mean, look, like you said, we do have a lot to blame. We blame Konami for a lot, but that's also because we as players, we haven't taken a lot of responsibility for the few things that are actually in our control. One of the things that kind of grates on Yu-Gi-Oh players is the playing experience of Yu-Gi-Oh. Losing in Yu-Gi-Oh does not feel good, and someone has to be, there has to be a winner, there has to be a loser. But I don't think we as a community actually care if our opponents enjoy the game. It's like, as long as I win, I don't care. And so we crush our opponents with impunity, and I feel that just, it does more damage than good. I mean,
I think that something that I've noticed, maybe this isn't exactly in the scope of the question, but I feel like it hopefully is like, sometimes I think, blame Konami for problems that are actually like player things, not like Konami things. So for instance, the fact that like trading doesn't really happen at card shops very much anymore, like it's kind of some people would call it a bit of a lost art, or like a dying art, is like not as many people trade.
A lot of people do blame Konami for that.
And people will kind of blame Konami, and I don't know that that's really Konami's fault, like that people at card shops aren't trading, because that just seems like it's more of like a decision by people. Like,
there was a cultural shift in card games towards the secondary market, right?
Yeah, like we have really pushed, everything's been pushed towards like, oh God. Like, I always like, because I feel like I have to like turn into a whole essay here. But to get some background on where I think this comes from is, we're all older. We're all a little bit more jaded.
Money's more important.
We're spending our own money. And there's kind of just this expectation, I think, that like you have to get your money's worth out of things. Like, there is no magic in opening these packs. You just want the cards. It's very much like a functional need for the cards. So why open a bunch of this pack, like Age of Overlord to get Little Knights, or, Rage of the Abyss to get Fuwalos? Like, buy them. Because statistically, like, that is the more efficient thing to do, is just buy the card outright. Don't waste your time with all this opening. But as a result, that does have an effect on like the interest in things like trading. It means there's less of a pool of cards that people will trade, because like you're not buying boxes and pulling random like ultra rare Six Samurai card or some of the secret rare mermaids that you could trade to people at your shop building those decks. No, the idea would be that if they're building those, they should also just order the singles. You order the singles for your stuff, they order the singles for their stuff. So Alec ordered his deck and I ordered my deck, and we didn't help each other build it, even though we're both players at our card shop.
Because back in the day, the way it was supposed to work was your shop had a case of the new set, the case sells out, and everyone's opening up their packs. Those who were extremely competitive are willing to trade away pretty much all of their other pulls to get the best cards. So they are happy because they get the best cards. And then the players who are not interested in competition are happy because they got to build their new deck. And all they had to do was pull one of those shiny, new, powerful cards.
Yeah, and so the thing with that is, like, some people would argue, well, okay, Konami's made these boxes so top-heavy, and, like, you only need the 1 or 2 secrets, and that's it. But I don't know. I think that's, like, more of a player decision still. Like, because nothing's changed in that regard, like, in the last 5, 10, 15. Like, packs have just been packs for the last decade or two. Like, nothing super major in that regard has changed. And so, like, I think that's one of those cases where we maybe want to blame Konami for it, but I don't think that's their fault.
I say only doing rare hunters that I feel like, you know, there was value in your rares and supers and stuff.
And I do still think that, like, you know, this is like the cheesy, normal stuff you're expecting to hear, but like treating other people with respect and like making people feel welcome at card shops, like, that can do just as much of the, you know, we like to say like things are killing Yu-Gi-Oh! Or whatever, Konami's killing Yu-Gi-Oh! This or that. Treating people badly, like being a sore loser, being a sore winner, like, you know, calling people scrubs or bad or whatever, like, you know, that's like a player thing.
I think this is the number one thing is, and this isn't in all card games, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Isn't, you know, we're known for it too, is this, we need to start caring about our opponents. It's not just about winning. It's not, because at the end of the day, not every game of Yu-Gi-Oh! You play is for a cash prize. So why not play with some grace? When your opponent loses, maybe, you know, maybe don't pick up your cards unceremoniously and then brag it to your friends about how you just crushed somebody. Try to engage your opponent, even if you're losing. Instead of just getting bitter and like clamming up, you know, banter a little bit, have a little fun. That's why we're here.
I do sometimes think that there's also misinformation about like what Konami is and isn't. Like in this community, like some people think like, oh, Konami isn't going to give us new Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. Yeah, because that's not actually what they handle.
They literally can't give you a Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime.
Like, yeah.
Well, I guess they can give you these
animation
like shorts, but
things.
They can't give you a proper Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. That's not them.
Yeah, so like you'll see these posts where it's like they're announcing evil heroes in Supreme Dark, and someone's like, Dub GX Season 4, and it's like that's totally out of their jurisdiction. They have zero influence or control over that. Like that's... But like people's hatred or disdain of Konami will sometimes be fueled by decisions that aren't Konami's.
They say Konami doesn't give us enough merch. That's also
not
in their wheelhouse. Really like
their thing, so. We've
been to places with Konami employees, and then there'll be Yu-Gi-Oh! Merch up on the wall, and they're like, "Oh, where'd this come from?" It's like, y'all really don't do merch. Y'all actually have no idea how that license is bouncing around.
Yeah, so I think that's just kind of an interesting thought. Okay, here is another quick question. Why do you think Konami stopped giving Link monsters the co-linked effects? That was the coolest part of the mechanic.
I think it was to cut down on the complexity and weirdness of Link monsters. Links were not popular in Yu-Gi-Oh! Let's make that... I think everyone should already know that, but I'm making it perfectly clear. Links were not a popular thing. They weren't as unpopular as pendulums, but that doesn't mean that they were well received.
Yeah, I remember it was the second most kind of cited reason why a lot of people would quit. Like, people quit when they release pendulums. They're like, this is stupid, I don't want to learn it. And they quit when they release links. I'm not saying everyone quit. I'm not saying it was justified that they quit. I'm just saying that the reality is there were people who quit.
And we saw a similar thing with pendulums too, when these new mechanics are badly received, some people will say they were badly implemented. I'm not going to go quite that far, but they were badly received. So that's when Konami starts to like shave down.
They kind of walk it back. They sand down the rough edges. Because I feel the same way as the person asking this question. I always thought it was weird that they suddenly got rid of all the like co-link, pointing to like mechanics,
all those are gone.
These monsters that are linked and stuff. You just don't really get that anymore. Nowadays, it feels like it's, the vast majority of link monsters are just like some high link monster that's strong, like Access Code or Apollosa, Underworld Goddess.
Link 1 or 2 enabler.
Yeah, or it's like a link 1 that's just kind of like, turn any monster into it, it searches something, and then like it leaves. Like, so, yeah, we're not getting, like, one of the cool link monsters to me was like Geonator Transverser. I always thought that was the coolest card. It's that little, it's
I don't even remember
right?
this card.
So Geonator Transverser has like a top left arrow and a bottom right corner arrow.
Okay.
And so like it can switch control of the 2 monsters it points to. And I thought that was really cool.
Oh, I remember you used that against me once.
Yeah, so basically, like, it can be a way to out some boards, actually, that are really weird and tumultuous. And you're like, oh, my God, like, I can't out this monster. You can actually make Geonator Transverser and, like, just make it pointing to the opponent's middle zone and then, like, your other zone, and, like, you switch the monsters. It's like a creature swap. And I thought that was a really creative use of the arrows. And even just early on, there were a lot of like link monsters where it's like, oh, the things it points to can't be destroyed by battle or whatever. And I don't know, like even the nightmares kind of had the whole like if it's co-linked when it activates its effect, they get to draw. And we don't have any of that anymore.
No, that's done.
So it just makes it seem like link monsters simply exist as this generic thing that just takes like X effect monsters, you turn it into something, and you go.
I think the idea is to make the mechanic as inoffensive as possible.
Yes.
It's already been offensive. It's done damage to Yu-Gi-Oh! Irreversible damage, right? So now I think the idea is, all right, for whoever we have left, we want all future Link monsters to be as inoffensive as possible. We want people to just like accept that they exist.
Yes.
And not be confused like with the terminology and like the way the arrows are pointing. Just enjoy them.
Yeah,
please.
just play them and like make them not offensive. It's a shame, I think, that we have lost something there.
That's why Pendulums just turbo themselves out now. They kind of ignore their own mechanics.
Yeah. So, anywho, here's the final question, one that I think is actually kind of like really interesting. I had a friend say, the point of playing games, or what's the point of playing games unless you're trying to be a content creator or streamer? Do you think there's a generation of gamers that only see gaming as a hobby or as a job instead of as a hobby?
I don't know if it's an entire generation, but I know there's a lot of people that think
that mentality has been on the rise of like you need like if you play a game you need to be like recording it or streaming it or like thinking of how you can post it.
Kids today don't know of gaming without streaming.
Yeah.
Like when we grew up, the internet was still quite new. Like not everyone even watched Let's Plays of video games.
Yeah, even that was like kind of more of a like late 2000s, early 2010s, kind of early 2010s like a phenomenon. Like for a lot of us who were like gaming in the 90s or the early 2000s, just the internet wasn't how you engage with your games. The most would be maybe you go to some forum and find cheat codes.
Yeah, cheat codes, some type of information. But otherwise,
it's all this is so weird to me because like as someone who I really don't get the appeal of just watching someone play a game like a live stream. I don't know. Do you watch like just a gaming live stream on Twitch? Just a person just playing something. Like I can't.
I've never found a game I'd rather watch streamed than play myself.
Exactly, yeah.
Like, I mean, you could say, oh, I want to watch the person. And yeah, there are times where like, oh, this creator is really funny or really interesting. I want to watch them play this game. But it's about them, not the game itself.
Yeah, and so I can see where kids probably feel like maybe go ahead.
Well, it's a bit of it's a lost cause if you're trying to figure out how kids like process and see the world. Their minds are millions of miles away from ours because
Yeah, true.
They're just growing up in a completely different world. We'll never understand how they interpret the world until they're all adults and then can tell us how they interpreted the world.
I guess maybe the better point of focus would be someone who's like our age who still just has this point of view.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what more the question is asking is like this person's friend said, like, yeah, you know, if you play a new game, you better be recording it or like you better be streaming it.
I think there is this kind of rat race mentality when if you're in your 30s, it can happen in your 20s too, where you feel like your hobbies are all a waste of time and money. You need to be monetizing them in some way in order to make them worth it. And a lot of that, I think, is because of influencer culture. You see a lot of people who have turned their hobbies into careers. They're paid to do the thing that you love, but you're not paid to do it. You're just wasting your money on it all the time. Say, no, I need to be making money off of Yu-Gi-Oh! I need to be making money off of Call of Duty because otherwise I'm wasting my time.
What am I doing? That does seem informed a bit by hustle culture as well. Like you can't be having a moment in the day that isn't kind of being dedicated to something that will make you some money.
There could be envy. I remember early articles about like how Instagram makes people envious of others, and so they start Instagramming and editing their pictures. You see these streamers, and you're like, okay, well if they can do it, I can do it too. I'm gonna stream everything that I do all the time forever.
I also think that there's even like just this mentality I've observed in a lot of people like online and sort of like a little in my real life where it's just like, if I'm not streaming it, then it's like it didn't even happen sort of thing. Like it's weird. Like I don't agree with that mindset, but like some people, you know, just, if a new game comes out and you're excited about it, but you don't like quickly give your thoughts on it on Twitter after you beat it, right? Like I got this game on day one and I played it and I beat it and like here's what I think, because you have to hurry and be a part of that conversation, right? You gotta like hurry and like I see a lot of that, so that way you can have like the best takes on it, or you can follow the conversation quickly as it's developing. Or similarly, it's like, you know, okay, you know, like Marvel Rivals just came out and I love playing it with my friends, but like my favorite content creators, they play with their friends, so like if I'm gonna play with my friends, then like I need to be streaming it because like we need because if it's not being streamed, am I really?
Are we really having fun?
Are we really having fun if it's not like on a captured on a? You know?
Did someone see us do it? Otherwise, I don't know.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird that people are losing in that way, like losing the ability to just enjoy a thing just for yourself. Like it's not enough to just kind of experience the game yourself. It's like people need to see me reacting to that cutscene or see me like pulling off that kill, because otherwise it's like what am I doing just doing it alone? But it's dark when I think about it that way, but like I do sometimes think that's how people are engaging with these games.
I mean, it's a little different between like, you know, multiplayer live service games and single player games, but when it comes like single player games, oftentimes I slow down when I play them, because especially when I think I'm nearing the end of the game, I really don't want my games to end, and a lot of times I will like slow that progress down to a crawl just so that I can enjoy my first playthrough for like another day or two.
Yeah. I think, and it's so like that's kind of what you get, right? You log in and like there's just always someone sharing clips and highlights from these kills on Call of Duty, or this crazy, like, you know, this crazy boss on Elden Ring or whatever, and it just seems like your life is so mundane by comparison because you're doing it by yourself, and I hate that for people, but that's like what the exposure to the internet has like, you know what I mean? Like that's what it's like kind of convinced people of, is just that like you are not having fun unless people are seeing you have fun.
Which is it's a bit of a shame. I mean, you can have fun if other people know you're having fun, but if the internet, like, you know, stopped working just for like one day, and you're this close to beating this new game, does that mean you're just not gonna do it? Like, you're just not gonna play because you can't upload a video of it?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's weird. Look, I'm 31. I have a hard time wrapping my head around this type of a mindset. Like, I didn't get internet until middle school, and by then it was really bad internet, and so I really wasn't that interested in all that. But, you know, if you want to stream all your games, go for it. Maybe try not doing that. You know,
Yeah,
just see how you
see
feel.
what's life
see
like
see
when
what
you
it's
don't.
like, man. I don't know. Like,
And I guess to quickly, since this, maybe person might have intended for a bit of a Yu-Gi-Oh take on this, I still think it's kind of the same story. Like, it's okay to just like be good at Yu-Gi-Oh or enjoy playing Yu-Gi-Oh without, like, certainly don't feel pressure to make like Yu-Gi-Oh content. That's one thing I'll always tell people. Like, I'm not. I mean, like, you can share your accolades. Like, if you win a regional, you should, like, you share that if you want to, but don't feel like too jealous of people who, you know what I mean? I don't know.
if you feel like you're spending too much on Yu-Gi-Oh, where you need to be monetizing it in order to make it make sense, maybe instead of trying to monetize it, maybe just try and spend less.
Yeah, that's one other option.
I'm just saying.
Well, anyways, that's it for the questions this week on the Pod of Greed.
And that brings this episode to a close.
Yeah, and for all the channel members, we appreciate you guys. We know we have not yet
you.
had a bonus episode this year so far.
But we are in recovery.
Yeah, we're recovering a bit from the Bandai Card Game Fest, but we will get back on that soon. And I wanted to have like an intro and all these other cool things by now, but I'm just not getting it done just yet.
Our New Year's resolution is to start the new year eventually.
Yes. Cool. We appreciate you guys. We will see you all next week.